Welcome to this month's Member to Member Connections. I'm ASHRAE President Mick Schwedler, and today we're going to talk about the benefits that employees bring back to their companies when they're involved in ASHRAE. To help us today, we have Jeff Boldt. He's with IMEG. He's a managing principal and a senior mechanical engineering specialist. Jeff, welcome, and thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, Mick.
So Jeff, can you take us back to when you first got involved in ASHRAE and what kind of support you initially had from your employer?
Okay. I mean, I first got involved in ASHRAE when I was in college, and I took a junior or senior level course where we used the 1977 Handbook of Fundamentals to learn to do load calculations and things like that. Then when I got out of college, I was hired by my firm and joined the local ASHRAE chapter immediately. And, got involved as a participant primarily.
So
and then about
things like that?
What's that?
Going to the meetings, things like that?
Yeah, going to the meetings, wanting to learn from that. And the social aspect afterwards also, because you start meeting some of the local contractors and they know who you are. It's a lot easier to have them feel comfortable getting you involved in a project, especially like a design build contractor who might be a client as well as somebody bidding on projects.
Sure.
And then about 12 years, no, actually, about 12 years later, I moved to Madison, and where I come from, and joined the local chapter, and almost immediately started working through the officer ranks, which is a good experience. You meet a lot of people. And at least in our local chapter, we have quite a few building owners and design build contractors that attend the ASHRAE meetings. So you get a chance to jostle elbows with those people and get to know them. Plus you get to be seen by a lot of those people in an officer position.
Sure.
You're much more visible than if you're just, one of the people who attends. And went through the officers and was actually the chapter historian for quite a few years. Because I think I won the history thing for Region 6. I think every year I did it.
Wow.
So that was good.
Jeff, as you were going through the chapter chairs, what kind of support did your employer provide at that point?
Well, our employer is always paid for ASHRAE dues.
Okay.
If you actually attend meetings. They get a little upset if somebody has never been to an ASHRAE meeting or done anything with ASHRAE and they're getting their dues paid. Probably to get the books, which honestly, that's a good resource, even if you get nothing else out of it. But they've always paid for the meetings. The technical talk part of the meetings is listed as, into our hours that we can put on our time card.
Oh, okay.
Dinner is not, but the technical portion is what we can put down and we can list it as education and so forth. And when I was being an officer, I don't think I was using that as billable time at the time.
Sure.
If I'd pushed it, might have been able to. But it was a very good experience. I mean, you learned about how to run a meeting, how to do things like that, that as you're getting a little bit older in your career, you need to know all those things. People are expecting you to do more than crank the calculator in the back room.
And more than just show up. So Jeff, what kind of benefits did that bring back to the company?
To the company, I mean, they gain knowledge from every time one of their people goes to one of the technical things. A lot of the people, once they're a few years out of school, they're starting to want to be a project manager and move up, and it gives them some of the skills to do that. It's one thing I think a lot of engineers are purely technical side. That's really, they come out of college, I want to design gears for Ford Motor Company or something. But the consulting field is much broader than that, at least the part of it I'm in, where we're designing buildings and so forth. You need to be able to interview for a project. You need to be able to manage a meeting where somebody might be upset with you. A lot of those political skills become as important as the technical skills. And ASHRAE's helped me a lot with that. And even more once I got farther. I mean, Mick, you're the person who sacrificed me to the ASHRAE 90.1 committee.
So thanks for that transition, Jeff. Yeah, I've been blamed for that in the past, and I'll take that. So Jeff has been on the 90.1 committee for many years. He's been the mechanical subcommittee chair. Jeff, that obviously expanded the amount of time with meetings We traveled at least 4 times a year. We met nights and weekends, some weekdays, some weekends. What kind of support did you get from your employer at that time, and what benefits did being on 90.1 bring back?
Okay, my supporter supported me in terms of like paying my airfare to ASHRAE, paying my hotels. I guess in 90.1 you meet 4 times a year, so twice a year, if I remember, I can get those 2 airfares paid for, outside of my company. But basically, they take care of all the expenses. I count the time as time on my time card. I will admit that I'm a person who averages 60 hours a week. So they knew I was going to get my day job done at night.
Yep.
They'll let me log all the time, except for maybe the going out to dinner and having a few drinks kind of time, which actually is a lot of the most beneficial stuff. It's because now when a young person, or maybe not such a young person in the company, calls me on something technical, and it's usually pretty hard to stump me because I have watched like over 3,000 hours of all the ASHRAE summer and all the annual and winter meeting seminars. So, but if I do get stumped, I say to that engineer, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to call up the world's best expert on that topic and talk to him, because I know this guy through the 90.1 committee and all the TCs I belong to. And then this 26-year-old guy goes back to his 60-year-old client and says, well, I was talking to so-and-so yesterday, and we decided this is your best solution. He goes, you mean the guy who writes all those articles in the ASHRAE Journal? He goes, yeah. All of a sudden that 26-year-old is like a player. He's not a 26-year-old punk. He's somebody who is a player in the industry.
Sure. So it not only enhances your credibility, but it gives you those connections to other people at your company.
Right. And you get the right solution.
So the client really gets what they want.
Right.
Okay. So you covered a few of the benefits. Do you do any that, like if people go to the ASHRAE meetings and go to seminars, does any of that training come back, or do they watch the DVDs, or now they're online, obviously?
A lot of it comes back. I mean, I do a lot of internal seminars for our company about things I've learned through ASHRAE. Also, we ask our people, like we give, I think it's for a professional engineer, I think it's 16 hours a year. You can go to any educational thing you want to.
Okay. Which
a lot of them go to the annual or the winter meeting and go to the seminars there, and we'll handle expenses up to some limit for that also. But what we do expect is when they come back to the company, summarize what you learned. If it's a little bit, give me bullet points. If it's a lot, do a noon seminar for us.
Okay.
So that knowledge goes to more than one person.
Okay, that's great to hear, because bringing it back, having your own knowledge is good, but bringing it back to the company so others can benefit from the same information is fantastic.
Yeah, we do a monthly mechanical meeting, and we ask people about seminars they've been to and what they've learned, and a lot of those are ASHRAE.
Okay. A little while ago, you mentioned something about interviewing skills. Can you go back and touch on how going through the chapter chairs helped with that, and maybe even help secure some jobs for your
it makes you more comfortable talking in front of people. I was the typical engineer who was kind of a nerd, and my wife claims that since she married me and since I joined ASHRAE, I've turned into an extrovert and now invite people off the sidewalk to come in for supper and see the house. After a certain time, you get comfortable doing public speaking, and an interview is kind of part of that. You can be really nervous your first time you go to an interview, or the first time you do like an educational seminar for a client. We do a lot of them for our bigger clients, and maybe it's a lunch and learn kind of thing. Maybe it's video and the local person does the lunch and learn.
Okay.
I do some of that, and it makes you comfortable to do that. And one of the things I try to do with that is I'm going to do some presentation for, maybe it's an ASHRAE group, maybe it's a client. And I say, well, actually, this is in the Chicagoland area. And I want one of our young up and coming guys to be a co-speaker with me on that.
Guys or gals?
Guys and gals, yes.
Yeah.
And get their feet wet.
Sure.
And get them like, oh, that's not so bad. I can do, next time I'll just do it myself.
Okay.
And it really helps. And, those are the people who are going to be your interviewers.
Okay.
The people who are not shy.
Yeah. Okay. Now, without going commercial,
Mm-hmm.
Are there times when money came in the door, not because of you did something commercial or conflict of interest due to ASHRAE, but because of your involvement in ASHRAE, some doors that opened up and money came into the company through projects?
I can think of actually a project where one of the other 90.1 committee members hired me to do a study
Oh,
for their company. A lot of times I see, even through something like, I'm not supposed to mention probably the social medias, but the one that's for business people, people will see my resume and call, and maybe they want a legal investigation, or they want somebody to do a peer review, or they want something like that. The company definitely uses my resume a lot.
Okay.
You go to an interview and they say, well, we want a really energy efficient building. And they say, we don't only know how to do that, we chair the mechanical subcommittee at 90.1. We write the codes. And that comes off really well in interviews. That's, one of the reasons they, really support this so much is they're getting more jobs.
So, Jeff, I think you've gotten some awards through ASHRAE. Can you discuss that a little bit? Not only the award, but also what that brought back to the company.
Okay. Well, if you look, just the plaque that's above my head is a picture of a project in Iowa that won ASHRAE's, at the time was called the Energy and Technology Awards, at the society level for the best institutional HVAC design of the year. And it won all the way to society. First you win at your local, then you win at regional, then you win at society. I actually won twice at regional. That was kind of strange. But it turned out my boss was judging at society.
Okay, so that conflict of interest stuff. Yep, got it.
Right. Although the guy I beat the first year won at society too.
Okay.
But anyway, so but it ends up on the cover of the ASHRAE Journal.
Wow.
And if you ever want to have some loyal clients, you take them to the society meeting where they get their plaques for having the best design building of the year kind of thing. And then you walk into the architect's office and you say, well, I designed this great award-winning building, but if you hadn't designed such a beautiful building, it wouldn't be on the front cover of the journal. And those were both clients that almost exclusively used us for 5 years after that project.
Wow. And so some projects, it's not only the technical skills, but it's business that can come back due to the connections, due to what you learn. And wow, that is fantastic.
Now, we had a project a little similar to this, but we actually made a mistake on a project.
Oh, okay.
And it turned out to solve it. We need to figure out some way to cool this building in the middle of the winter when their campus chilled water wasn't on in the winter. We didn't know that. And so our guy talks them into putting in an energy recovery chiller. And everybody gets a society level ASHRAE award for an energy efficient laboratory project. And, it just goes away when everybody's happy.
Sure. Okay. Now, Jeff, you and I also served on the Advanced Energy Design Guide committee, I think for the 50% hospital guide, and that was a great experience.
Were you on the 50% or the 30%?
I was on the 50.
Oh, okay, because I was on both.
Office, yeah, okay,
yeah. Okay.
Now, but you had a story about somebody else in your firm who served on the AEDGs due to knowing about what you'd done. Can you share that a little bit with our audience?
Sure. I was in a 90.1 meeting, and Tom Culp got up and said, here's what's going on with the AEDGs, and we're going to do our first net zero energy one. And I'm like, oh, cool. I want to be involved in that. And I get up there and they've already got 6 mechanical applicants.
Okay.
But they have 0 for electrical. And I go, our chief lighting designer is going to love this. Wow. And I actually went to the selection committee and kind of pushed her. We never would have known about it if I hadn't been at that 90.1 meeting. Sure. And she did a great job there. Lila's told me so. Okay. And really enjoyed it. And it's been a huge marketing thing for us because we were one of the authors of the first advanced energy design guide for net zero energy buildings, which is a big deal with a lot of our clients these days.
Fantastic. So for those of you who might not know, the Advanced Energy Design Guides they aren't ASHRAE publications. We have four groups that work together: the American Institute of Architects, the Illuminating Engineering Society, the lighting folks, the U.S. Green Building Council, and ASHRAE, and then we're supported by the U.S. Department of Energy. And there have been 30%, 50%, and now zero energy design guides for various building types. They are just awesome. And by the way, you can download them. This is the commercial part at www.ashrae.org/free AEDG, Advanced Energy Design Guide. They're great for projects working with your clients. And basically, you have a platinum referral from the 4 organizations that work together to put them together. So Jeff, let's close from a high level standpoint. After years and decades involved in ASHRAE, what are the top few things that your employer, your company, got from your involvement in ASHRAE?
Okay, well, they got a better employee.
Mm-hmm.
They learned a lot. I'm always referring people to the ASHRAE recorded seminars from the society meetings. Just give you an example. We had a clean room project, and then we got the interview about how to design a clean room.
Mm-hmm.
And the best one is from a guy in Hong Kong, and you won't understand a word he said, but his PowerPoint is amazing. You can design the whole building reading his PowerPoint.
Wow. Okay.
But that's been a big benefit to us.
Mm-hmm.
And the people, we sometimes have projects where they say, Jeff, have you ever heard of this guy? Maybe it's even somebody we're thinking about hiring. And I go, oh yeah, I've met him at some ASHRAE meetings. I can get you more info. That sort of thing. Or even about companies. We've been involved a lot in mergers and acquisitions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of one company where I said, I know 3 people from that company. They're solid.
Wow.
You got to be able to judge the technical side as well as do they look good on paper.
Sure. So it's the networking, it's the technical, it's helping serve your clients, and it's helping get business in the door for the company.
Yep.
Fantastic.
It really is. It's been great.
Well, Jeff,
you're going to be stuck with me for many years.
All right. I love that. And you can blame me for many things, and I'll return that favor to you. So Jeff, again, thanks so much for taking the time today. And audience, thanks for visiting with our member connections this month. We hope to see you next month with our next topic.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mick. And thanks for getting me involved.